بسم الله الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه وسار على سنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد. In the previous khutbah we talked about the nature of this life, or a way to look at this life as being a race towards achieving the highest levels of paradise, a race towards pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and hence reaching the highest level in the Jannah, or in the hereafter. And we mentioned the verse, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ, and in that let the competitors compete. The competition in this life is not how much money we gather in this life, it's not how much wealth we have in this life. No, it's what is the level that we're going to end this life with. At what point will we be when we end this life? It's from the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He puts you in a race, He gives you tips, He gives you things that you can use and utilize in order to reach these levels, or in order to compete during this race. Today inshallah we're going to be talking about 4 resources, part of many. There are many resources, and even if you don't know the resources, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always guide you towards what tools you can use, or will always help you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in the Quran, that if you take a step towards Him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or in a hadith, if you take a step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take a step towards you. So the 4 resources that we're going to be talking about today are the remembering of death and how that can help us in this race. And the second resource is fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or al-khawf min Allah azza wa jal, the grief of the people of paradise, or hasrat ahl al-jannah. And finally, the 5 tools of the companions, or Hamsat Sahaba, or the tools that the Sahaba have been using them. We will talk briefly about each one, inshallah. We're going to get some tools from it and some insights on how to use these. The first one, remembrance of death. It has been narrated that the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were sitting once in a gathering, and they were remembering one of their companions that passed, that died recently. And they were saying, like envying how righteous he was, the good deeds that he has been doing, etc. and etc. The Prophet ﷺ was sitting among them. He didn't say a word. They kept talking. After they finished, he asked them, هل كان يكثر ذكر الموت? Did he used to remember the death? They said no. So the Prophet ﷺ said, هل كان يدع كثيرا مما يشتهي? Did he used to let go of much of what he desired? They said no. So the Prophet ﷺ says, ما بلغ صاحبكم كثيرا مما تذهبون إليه. Or your companion did not go to much of what you want to go. If you look at this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ did not ask them, did he used to pray at night? He did not ask them, did he used to fast during Ramadan and not Ramadan? Did he used to give sadaqah? No, he didn't ask all these questions. He asked one question, did he used to remember death? And did he used to let go of many of what he desires? This gives a unique gives a clear understanding of why is death, remembering death, so important? Why is dhikr al-maut that important to us? If you know that, or we can discuss another example, or another situation that happened. One of the followers of the Prophet ﷺ, he came after a time, I don't remember his name. He was walking in the streets once, and he saw a group of people just playing or fooling around in the street. The righteous person asked them, what do you think of a group of people who have an exam, and instead of studying they play? They didn't get why is he asking this. So he said, they told him, of course these group of people are very foolish. If they have an exam, they have to study for the exam. So he left them, and the second day he goes passing by his son doing the same thing. He asked them the same question. What do you think of a group of people who fool around while they have an exam? They answered the same question. They didn't still get the hint. The third day when he was passing by, then they understood. Yes, he's talking about us. The exam, this life is an exam. The day you end this life is when you're going to find the results of the exam. If you keep fooling around, you're never going to get anywhere. So if you always keep our eyes on the last day in this life, and we don't know when it is. We might die today, we might die tomorrow, we might die in a month. We don't know when. What have you prepared for that day? So when we always keep that in our minds, that will help us. How can we remember the death? Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib one of the main tools to do that is to go visit the graves and see and think about what these people in the graves are going through. Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib one time he took one of his friends and he went to the graves and he began looking at it. And he said, "O people of the grave, O people of the tests, O people of solitude, what's going on with you?" He's asking them, what's happening with you? What are you going through in the graves? So he continued talking. Here in the dunya, I'll tell you what happened. Sayyidina Ali, he said, here in the dunya, your money has been divided. He's talking to the people in the grave still. Your money has been divided among people. Your kids are all orphans right now. Your wives got married. That's the news here. What about the news there? What's going on with you? So Sayyidina Ali began crying. And then he looked at his friend and he told him, let me tell you, if these people talk, what will they say? They will say, Inna khayra zadi taqwa. The best provision is piety. That when they reach that point, they know that it didn't matter how many kids they have. It didn't matter how much money they had. It didn't matter their wives. Nothing mattered. Inna khayra zadi taqwa. The best provision is piety. Fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and working towards that. And then he said his very famous sentence, Al-qabru sunduq al-amal wa 'inda al-mawt ya'tika al-khabar. The grave is the box where all your deeds are collected, and when you die, that's when you're going to find out what did you do. Did you do well or did you do bad? Another tool which was mentioned by Imam al-Banna, that you can always remember or vision if you lost one of your dear friends, someone that's dear to you and he died. Try to vision what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment. What if I go to the Jannah and he goes to the Jannah? We're going to be all happy. What if he goes to the Jannah and I go to the hellfire? What if I go to the hellfire and what if it changes around? And what if we both go to the hellfire? And begin thinking, when you're reading the Quran, begin thinking about these verses of describing the situation of Ahlul Jannah and Ahlul Nar. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the people of the Jannah talking to the people of the hellfire and telling them, إِنَّا قَدْ وَجَدْنَا مَا وَعَدَنَا رَبُّنَا حَقًّا, that we found what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us to be true. Did you find what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised you to be true? Think about that and think about the